D1 gets treated as the only outcome worth wanting in college golf recruiting, as if every other level is just a consolation prize for players who didn't measure up. That framing is wrong, and it pushes a lot of players toward programs that are a worse fit than options they dismissed without really understanding. D2, D3, and JUCO golf are real pathways with real advantages, and understanding what each one actually offers changes how a player should think about the whole recruiting process. D1 programs generally have the deepest recruiting reach, the most visible competition schedules, and access to the largest scholarship budgets, though, as covered before, that scholarship money is still split across a roster rather than handed out in full. D1 also typically means the most demanding time commitment, more travel, more competition, and a training and practice schedule built around the program being a primary commitment alongside academics, not a secondary one. None of that makes D1 inherently better for every player. It makes it a specific kind of environment with specific trade-offs that fits some players extremely well and others not at all. A player who wants golf to be the center of their college experience, who can handle the time demands, and who's competitive enough to play meaningful minutes on a deep roster can thrive there. A player chasing the D1 label itself, regardless of fit, often ends up buried on a bench or grinding through a program that doesn't match their actual needs. D2 programs often provide a genuine middle ground, real scholarship opportunities, often more accessible than D1s, competitive golf against a still strong field, and frequently a less grueling travel and time commitment that leaves more room for academics or other priorities. The competition level at strong D2 programs is higher than people sometimes assume, and the path from a strong D2 career into professional golf or coaching is well established, not a dead end. Think about a player who's a strong regional competitor, but hasn't built the national ranking profile that catches a D1 coach's attention early. That same player can be a priority recruit for a D2 program, walking into real scholarship money, a starting role from day one, and a coaching staff with the time to actually develop their game, rather than fighting for minutes at the bottom of a deep D1 roster. D3 programs don't offer athletic scholarships at all under NCAA rules, but they make up for it in other ways: academic flexibility, a golf program built around balance rather than golf being the dominant focus of a student's time, and in many cases, access to strong academic institutions that a player might not get into purely on athletic merit elsewhere. For a player who wants to keep competing seriously while prioritizing academics or other interests, D3 can be a genuinely better fit than chasing a partial D1 or D2 scholarship at a school that's a weaker overall match. Picture a player who's a genuinely strong golfer, but whose first priority is getting into a highly selective academic program. A D3 school that's elite academically often becomes reachable specifically because the golf program adds something to their application, even without scholarship money attached, while still offering a real competitive season every year. Junior college golf gets dismissed too quickly by a lot of families, often because it's seen as a step down rather than a legitimate pathway. In practice, JUCO programs can offer significant playing time and competitive development for players who need another year or two to grow before stepping into a four-year program, along with a more direct, often more affordable route to building a stronger recruiting profile. Consider a player who simply needed more time. Maybe their swing was still developing late in high school, or their competitive results hadn't caught up to their actual ability yet by the time most recruiting decisions get made. 2 years at a strong JUCO program gives that player real, meaningful competition, room to keep developing without the pressure of a four-year commitment made too early, and a results record that speaks for itself by the time they're ready to move on. This is the part of JUCO that gets overlooked the most. It isn't a dead end, it's often a launching pad. A strong 2 years at a JUCO program frequently leads directly into a four-year D1 or D2 program as a transfer, and the recruiting dynamics at that stage can actually favor the player more than they did coming out of high school. Coaches recruiting transfers are looking at a track record of actual college-level competitive results, not projections based on junior golf rankings and a few high school tournaments. That can mean more leverage, clearer fit, and in some cases, access to programs that weren't realistically available straight out of high school at all. This transfer pathway isn't unique to JUCO either. Players sometimes move from D3 to D2 or D2 to D1 once they've proven themselves at one level and outgrown it competitively. The 4 year commitment a player makes at 18 isn't always permanent, and understanding that transfer pathways exist and work can take real pressure off the initial decision. The first choice doesn't have to be the only choice. The real question isn't which division sounds most impressive. It's which environment actually fits a player's competitive level, academic goals, financial situation, and what they want their college experience to look like. A player who picks a level based on label rather than fit often ends up either overwhelmed by a commitment that doesn't match their priorities or under-challenged in a program that doesn't push their development. Either outcome is worse than landing in the right level for the wrong reasons. D1 isn't the finish line, and the other levels aren't consolation prizes. Each pathway offers something real, and the right one depends entirely on what a player is actually looking for, not on which letter sounds most prestigious to people who don't understand how any of it actually works.